Come on. Everything's running slow. Okay. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Sherry Strong. I am with the COO with Strong Communities, and we are excited because this is session 2 with Jana. And she is going to be, we're talking about building and maintaining relationships during times of change. And last week was just fabulous. And if you haven't watched that video yet, we encourage you to go do that. She did some myth busting, which I thought was just the best thing ever. And I've been promoting that to everyone because even as a person who's networked a lot, there were certain things that just you hear them different when you're at different places in your life and your career. So we are just so blessed to have her with us. And Jana, I'm not going to take much time now this week as everybody knows who you are. So we'll just hand it back over to you. And do you have a deck you're going to be sharing again? We probably need to share your screen. Okay, wonderful.
You see it?
Yep, we see it.
All right. Well, hi, everyone. It's great to be back. And thank you, Sherry, for the opportunity again to talk with you. And we're going to take up where we left off on networking in this current environment and what you can do to really help yourself, whether you're networking for business or whether you're networking for just some new contacts, if you've moved into the area or just getting acquainted with people. It applies no matter what. And it really applies to just friends, to keep in touch and to reach out. So no matter what you're doing, this will apply. Just in case someone's new on here and didn't get the last one, I'm just going to quickly recap what we talked about last week. So this fits in. Otherwise, you're going to wonder what in the heck I'm talking about. But we are talking about overall finding opportunities and planning for recovery, because all of us are going to have to recover from whatever it is we're now in. We're sheltering in place and doing all these things. But the goal of this particular session was just learning how to build relationships and find referrals in these particular times. If you're in business, find referrals. If you're not, then of course building relationships, because they always come in handy. So we talked about what you need to do to create a strategy for it. And what it is it's a strategy that will get you, no matter what you're doing, you have to think about what you're doing, what you need, how you need to do it, when you need to do it. And sometimes we are just so busy from all our past that all the things we've run to, all the events we went to, all the luncheons we went to, all the church activities, the business activities, we're just running. And we don't take time to stop and just think about what it is that we really need to do to plan for whatever it is we need to plan. In my world, it's business. And I teach business professionals how to get referrals and do business by referral. So in my world, a lot of business professionals were so busy running around all the time that they didn't take time to sit down and plan. And they would come in to our meetings and they would ask very general things like, I want to meet anybody who's got 3 employees and 10 computers. And I'm like, that's too broad. We can't find that thing. So you need to be able to figure out what it is you want, write it down. And it's proven that your brain works better when you actually not only think, but write it out. And then you get that eye-hand connection. And it really, no matter what you're doing, it works. If you're doing a business, you definitely want to do that to plan who your clients need to be and who your referrals need to come from. So there's rules. We talked about those. The know, like, and trust rule that we always have great confidence in. But should we really have great confidence in that? And what I mean by that is, no matter what you're doing, even if you have a little sideline business, maybe you sell Mary Kay or you sell whatever it is you sell, or you have a really big business and you want to work it. Oftentimes we think, well, they should know, they know me, they like me, they trust me, they should refer to me. Well, no, because as we jokingly said last week, how many of you get referrals from your mom or your dad? Or, those just don't happen all the time. And it's because a different relationship exists between that. And also, just because you do a good job doesn't mean that if you do a good job for Sherry and I don't talk to Sherry, I can't know about you because she's not thinking about you, and I go talk to somebody else because I need a painter. gee whiz, Sherry had a painter. I didn't talk to Sherry, so you're not going to get that job whether you did a great job for Sherry or not. So those are rules that we talked about and that we needed to. But the biggest, most important thing as we move forward in this section that I want to get across to everyone is that no matter when, whether or not we're in crisis right now, but even if we're not and before when we weren't, this really applies. It's always a how can I help you? You don't go with what you want in mind. You go with how can I help you? How can I find things for you? How can I assist you in whatever it is you're doing? So we talked a lot about the how can I help you. And then we talked about how can I teach you, especially if you're in business and you want people to refer you. You have got to be very specific. I kind of showed a funny picture last week of an incredibly messy room. Some of you may have children whose rooms look like that, or maybe yours. And it was just a gigantic mess and had lots of different things in it. And I asked them to pick, I asked them to focus on the color blue. And when you focus on something, it's kind of like when you have a business and you can see everything, no matter where you go, you identify referrals for yourself. However, if I'm working with someone and I want them to refer to me, and I don't teach them, they have their own color. So maybe it's red. And they are going one direction, they're looking at the red things. I'm going in a direction, same direction. I'm looking at the blue things. And I'm like, why aren't you seeing these referrals from me? It's because they're looking at one thing, I'm looking at something else. So no matter what you're doing in networking, you have to teach people how to refer you. And that's really important. And then consistency to keep the relationships going. And that's been what's difficult right now, is because how do you do that in this environment? Most people before, they were networking, they were going to any kind of association. Sherry and I were talking about Toastmasters. We're both involved in that. Whether it's Rotary, Kiwanis, BNI in my world, lots and lots of different chamber events. We're always running somewhere, churches, all activities. Wow, that came to a screeching halt, and we're no longer able to meet in person. So the connections that we were making face to face, they're gone, right? And we can make them now eye to eye and face to face, but only on electronic devices like Zoom or Skype or some of those. So you have to change how you think about how you're developing your network and how you're building your relationships. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today, in the aspect of how do you build those relationships going forward, and how do you create a network that's going to be there for you when we actually get out of this crisis. No one knows when it's going to be, but if you actually build the relationships now, it's the difference between when you're at like a networking event and people are at you and pushing at you to buy something from them. Oh, I do the best this, and they're like, woo, and you want to go away. You just don't need all that pushiness. We don't like those kind of people. We don't enjoy being around them. So therefore, that relationship starts to break. We don't even have one. We don't want one. But if we're at an event and someone's asking us questions and they're talking to us and really listening, we like them. And then if they'd asked us for coffee because they think maybe we can work together, I'm definitely going to go, and I bet you would too, just because that relationship is there. So these are opportunities we still have. We just need to do a little different shifting when we're doing that. So I'm going to hope this thing works. It has this tendency to not do it, even though, can you see the screen, Sherry?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I am trying to get this thing to move, but it's not allowing. There we go. Okay, so we have a lot of opportunities, but they're very different. Very, very different opportunities than what we were used to, and we're going to have to figure out how to do that. We have to create a strategy, but it might be a little different strategy than what we had before. It's got to be where we sit down, we think about what it is we want. If you're in business, you might be very reflective right now. Most businesses are. Am I spending my dollars in the way I need to? Am I wasting any money? Do I have the right vendors? How are they taking care of me? Should I change my direction? Should I add a new product? Should I get rid of a product? All those questions are coming through our heads. And we need to sit down and work it all out. And we need to really, really focus and think about it. When we do that, we're going to create this business strategy or personal strategy. If you're not in business and you're creating one for yourself, it's a personal strategy that you have. Now, what can some of our strategies be? Unfortunately, it's not this, as we went over last week. This is not your strategy, right? You're not sitting, and for those of you who maybe can't see, this guy is sitting in his underwear, and he has a remote control in his hand, and he is probably zoomed out on Netflix, and with a scowl on his face, like nothing's working out. I don't have any clients. I don't have anybody to talk to. I can't go anywhere, so I'm just going to chill on Netflix, right? Well, that's not a good strategy, right? We all know that. Now, there are times when we want to just chill. They say that, I heard something today where the sale of pajamas has gone way out the roof. The sale of food and pajamas, especially the comfort foods of pizza and ice cream. So what they kid about now is when you're on Zoom, no one knows what you look like from the waist down. So they said if your pants don't fit, there's probably pajama bottoms on the bottom or something. We joke about stuff like that, but it's actually happening. So this particular guy is not doing the strategy you need. And even if you're not in business, even if you want to do something different, maybe you want a new job, maybe you want whatever, if you want a new job, you don't just, and Netflix is not going to provide that. So you have to think differently about this whole thing. We're going to come out of this. We're all hopeful that we'll come out of it. And there is this curve that we have to hit. And the people that are thinking right now and developing a strategy in a positive way, not negative, not really focusing on, oh, gee, things are bad, and what can I do? Don't dwell on that. Dwell on what is possible, what can happen, and maybe get some of your friends. If you're thinking of changing careers or you're thinking of changing some of the structure of your business, kind of brainstorm really with other people and get them to go, maybe you should try this, or have you thought about this? And what's going to happen is that you're going to be developing a strategy as you come out of this. And those that are developing that, and those in business, for instance, if you set up relationships now and you network with people now, and I'll show you how you can do that, you have to first develop that strategy and then figure out who it is you need to refer business to you if you're in business. And then that's the people that you're going to come after and that you're going to go after. So the people that do that are going to come out of this curve. When the time is right and the doors are open, you will have started right now, no matter how long we are sheltering in place. You cannot just sit still. You have to develop relationships, reach out, touch, call. You can't chase money. You can't be transactional, and you can't just do the same old, like the hamster that just goes round and round in that same wheel. Most of what we're hearing now is that the world on the other side of what we are going through is going to be different. We don't know how, but it's going to be different. So if we're so stuck on doing the same things, we might be really, really crushed when we're out the other end. And we definitely don't want to be chasing the money, even though, you know what, it's really hard. If your business is declining and you need money, that is a very hard thing not to chase. But it's been proven that if you chase, it's almost like that dog that can sense fear. We can sense that you're desperate, and for some reason it repels us instead of draws us towards you. So you're going to have to think of a different strategy. This is a strategy I recommend. Don't go hunting. Don't go shooting for people, shooting for your next target, your next game, your next sale. Put the gun away. Put whatever tools you have to hunt with away, and instead plant. By planting, I mean you are setting a stage for building relationships. And you can just think, first of all, you have to plan that strategy. You have to think, who do I want to develop relationships with? Who do I need to develop relationships with that are going to bring me what I need? The planting takes that time, because you not only they don't plant these big old trees. they plant these little seedlings, maybe sometimes even seeds. These things are a little bigger than some people plant. They plant the seeds. But you have to go in and you have to nurture, and you have to water, and you have to weed, and you have to talk, and you have to talk to the plants, and you have to nurture them again and again. It's all of that nurturing. That is the same thing when you build relationships. You start small, little tiny bits, and you feed and feed and feed without thinking about that dollar sign. You're feeding into these people. You're listening to them. How can I help you? What can I do for you? Who can I introduce you to? How can I be of service to you? Who do I know that you need to know? All of those things that you're basically plowing into that little seedling, you keep watering it, it's going to grow. And finally, you're going to get this big old product of abundance. You'll have abundant fruit because you've plowed into it. You've actually plowed into it, and you've made it work for you. And it's only because you were patient, because you built the relationships. This tree didn't get all this fruit just overnight. It didn't even get it within the first year sometimes. And that's part of our problem in this day and age. We're too impatient, and we want now. We want this right now. And if it doesn't happen, we tend to go, this isn't working, and we go to something else. It can't be that way. In building relationships that are going to last you through any crisis, through anything, you've got to plant those seeds now. So here's some ways. I had to put this picture in because I thought this is so apropos for our world with the phone booth with this thing over his head. And for those who might not be able to see, I couldn't help myself. When I saw this, I thought, oh no, I don't know if somebody created this during the coronavirus or not, but this guy has a little headpiece phone booth on his head, just kind of like that plastic bubble that we all feel like we need to wear when we go out because we don't like masks, so we wear the plastic bubble. But he's on his phone, and he is actually talking to people. And that's what you need to do. You need to talk. You need to reach out. You need to touch people by phone. Some of the people you need to touch, if you're in business, number one, your clients. Call your clients. Make sure they're doing well. Make sure they're healthy. Make sure they don't need anything. Ask them how they're doing and their business is doing if they have one. Always, always, always be, how can I help you? What do you need? Who can I get for you? Da, da, da. All of that. If they're friends, same thing applies. You want to keep your friends, so you want to reach out, you want to touch. I even sometimes think about people who are really organized when they've been networking, say, and they take all the cards they take. If you just dump them in a drawer, when you look at them, you have no idea what that card came from, where it came from, who this person is. It means nothing to you. However, if after the event, here's a tip for you, get with those little, I don't even know what they're called, but you can slide business cards in them, and they've got about 8 on a slide. I can't remember the technical word for it. But anyway, you put those in, and then you put a little thing in the front that says chamber event. And you can write a little note of the date that you met them, and maybe if you remember something about them, write it on the card. So if you have a bunch of those cards, just reach back out. Hey, I met you at this Kiwanis Club or this chamber or whatever, and I was just calling to make sure people are okay in this. I just want to find out how you are. You know, if you reach out and touch people and they're surprised, like, wow, that's really nice of you to call, right? You're developing that little seedling and you're watering it a little bit. And especially if it's a business that you might want to develop a relationship, because, and I'll explain in a little bit, they might become what's called a collaborator or a referral partner for you. I put the other picture of the little screen with the Zoom on it because it's where we are today. We're talking over the internet. We're talking by FaceTime. We're talking by whatever. And that's what we're doing. Sherry, you got a question?
I got a question. Do you, especially when you're starting out, do you recommend people like take certain time of the day to do follow up and to do that connecting by email? just because I think it's easier for some people to do it. And then, and I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this now, like some of my contacts and writing some notes down. And I'm like, I used to do this. I was so good at it when I was working at a corporation. I was really good at keeping in touch with people. And then when I was starting the business, I was really good at it. But then I got away from it. And what do you recommend to people who, because if you haven't reached out to somebody in a long time, and then all of a sudden you're contacting them, and
Awkward.
maybe you're going to talk about that, or I'm jumping ahead, but you're making me think. So now I'm like, ah.
No, it's good. I'd rather you ask now because
Okay.
it's a very important point, because you're right. If you reach out and go, I haven't ever talked to you, number one, or I haven't talked to you in 5 years. What are you calling about, kind of thing. So yeah, and the thing, you said something that really, when it's working and it's working, we stop it.
Yes.
It's like we stop it instead of continuing it. There's something about our own nature that, oh, it's working, it must be okay, and then we just like
All
drop.
right, now I got what I needed, so then I stop, right?
Yeah,
So
so you stop. So I recommend, yes, that you set the time aside, and that is the hardest part. That actually is a little easier now than it was, because when you're running all day long and then you come to a spot in the day and you go, oh, I got all these emails to answer, I got all this to do, I got all this, it's like, oh, I'll call them later, right? And later becomes next week, and then next month, and then 2 months, and then the problem is you go, oh man, it's been so long, they'll probably think I want something, so I'm not going to call them, and therefore you don't do it at all. The discipline involved in taking the time to do it right away is so much better. It's just making ourselves do it.
mm-hmm.
And in this present situation that we're in, it is a little easier because we can't go out a lot. So we have a little bit more time. And it's also been proven that right now, especially if you're in business and everybody's assessing their own business, they are much more open to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
They're thinking too, and to have somebody to bounce ideas off of, and yeah, I'm having a struggle with this or whatever, and you just be that listening tool for them. It's like you become really, really special to them, because you go, thanks, you helped me think through this. Hey, you've just won points. Not that you're just always trying to win points, but you're building those
Yeah.
relationships with people that will stay the good fight down the road, and they'll be there for you too. So
Well,
yeah.
and I'm thinking time has been our excuse for so long.
Oh
And
yeah.
now we have found out time is not the excuse. Like, boy, I never had time to clean my house. Well, now I have found out that's not the real excuse, right? I
Right.
have time to clean my house. I just don't want to. So, and I think it's the same thing with networking and building relationships. It used to be, I just don't have time. And we're finding out that's not the real reason why.
No,
What
it's
is the real,
truly
what's
not.
stopping you from doing it? Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, it's like, will you or can't you or won't you?
Yeah. And there's something stopping you from doing it, right? And as a coach, of course, that makes my head, ask all these questions. But anyway, sorry,
No,
you just got
I
me
love it.
thinking, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Heck, I love the interaction. So thank you for that, because to me, it's really important. If somebody has a question, I'd rather answer it right then. And, just be able to like clarify, because sometimes you're thinking, what you said, or I've given this presentation probably 6 times now. So I'm like, oh, I already said this. No,
Yeah.
maybe not here.
Yeah, I did say in this one. Yeah, I get it. No,
So
thank you,
it's
Jana.
like, I don't remember. But I think if we would realize how important marketing is to us, and the marketing being relationship building is a big chunk of that, we would take the time. But I think sometimes the fact that we've been running and doing, we have to always be doing something. That's when we trip ourselves up, because it's really about reaching out and touch, and it's really true. We have to develop that. Now, another thing is, this particular slide talks about building referral partners. And when we talk about referral partners, let's say you are in business and you do crawl spaces under houses for mold. Maybe you put down all the vapor barriers and the water protection and all that. Well, you can go and ask and look for one transaction at a time. That'll take you forever. And you can't always hope that somebody smells mold somewhere, because sometimes they don't. There's problems. However, stop to think, and you can see some of these people standing there just like thinking. Stop to think about, okay, here's my clients. Here's the type of people I want. And remember, if you make a list, you can look at it and it jogs your mind to be thinking. Who sees those people when I don't? Who has them as clients and I don't even know about it? So then you start writing. Okay, in my case, as a crawl space person, real estate, they would have to have the house inspected. So the inspector would be one. The plumber might be one, because if there's a leak and that house is not on it has a crawl space, hey, maybe that leak went down under the house. Those kinds of people become what we consider referral partners. And those are people who have the same type of clients you want, but they do something totally different. And if you developed a relationship with them and you go, you know, when I'm at a house, I can introduce you. When you're in a house, you can bring me up, and you begin to teach each other how to do that. You can't just assume. Don't ever assume somebody knows how to do what you need them to do. You really need to explain it. And I know Sherry knows this as a coach. You'll tell somebody something, and then when they go to do it, it's like, I did what you said. And you're like, not anything like I said. Not anything like I said. It's because in our head, we've clearly described it, and in their head, they've transposed it into something totally different. So when you get a referral partner, you've got to teach. This is what I need you to say and do. This is what I need you to look for. Here's my color, so to speak. What do I need to do for you? And always make it reciprocal. It's never all about you. It's got to be, now, how can I help you? How can I work with you? What can I do for you? When you do that, there will be people on the outside of this pie chart that will be left out. And you will go, you know what? I need a relationship with so-and-so. And find out their name, find out their office, find out whatever it is you need to find out about them. And then find out who knows them by asking some of your friends. I need an introduction to so-and-so. Do you happen to have any connections?
Can I
ask
add? There's
other people. Go ahead, Sherry.
One of the best questions somebody shared with me, and I think this is perfect. And again, I got away from this, and you're just really making me think today. I'm like busy. I'm like thinking about all this. One of the best questions is, who do you know that I should know?
Yeah, I love it.
And I was like, that's one of my used to be one of my favorite questions. I'm going to bring that back into the arsenal again.
Yeah, that's great. Who do you know that I should know? Because, we all have people we admire. We have professionals. I tell my people in BNI, because they're always looking to add people that are to their team. And I say to them, you have clients. And if you think that they don't know people, you're wrong. You're forgetting that. You don't even talk to them about it. So say, you know what? I love being a resource for my clients. I have professionals that I can refer to you, and here's some. And I tell them, show them some of the people that you know. And they go, oh, gee, I didn't know you had whatever in your group. But then you say, and you know what, Sherry? I'm sure you've got some great people I don't know. And I would love to meet them, because who knows, I could maybe refer them, and you're going to give me people. Those are the people you respect. You wouldn't give me anybody back, because you don't want me referring to clients. So I'm going to get really good people. I'm going to build the relationships. You're going to introduce me. And the fact they like you, that trust is transferred over. And it's like, oh, you're a friend of Sherry's. Oh, and all of a sudden when you're a friend of someone's, or you're recommended by somebody, that barrier starts to go way down, and you just don't have those, like, all the checking out. There's just, this wall goes down. So this is an incredibly important slide for now and for later. Mm-hmm. No matter who you need to meet, you have got to analyze who it is, and then start asking for connections, start asking for introductions. And that way, it's kind of one of those things where, especially now, we're all on the same boat. So we can laugh about the phone booth on the head. We can laugh about wearing the mask. We can laugh about some of the funny things like staying in your pajamas half the day. People laugh at that stuff because it's the real world. But it also built a bond because we're all pretty vulnerable. And when you're vulnerable right now, you're much more open than you are. It's a little hard to put up a facade when your kids are driving you crazy. Your jobs, you have lost your job. It's hard to do that facade. And for those who have lost their job, this is a perfect thing to do. Think about what you want and think about where you need to be and what ideal job do you want. And then reach out and try to find some people who have connections. Is jobs are found now by connections more than they are.
Oh, I can only imagine right now.
Yeah,
It's all because
yeah,
the marketplace is flooded.
it
And
is.
if you don't, it's about who you know, I can only imagine.
It's totally that. Even before the market, some of the the staffing companies, and some of the others were going. It's really who you know, and some jobs are scooped up before they're even put out, just because somebody knew somebody who needed something, and
Yeah.
all those connections happen. So no matter what position you're in, whether who knows how many people are listening to this that have whatever situation, or their son, my son-in-law lost his job, his whole company closed, so he's out of work. He's got 5 kids to support, so we're looking. We're trying to connect to make sure that he gets another job as soon as possible, because you can't live on unemployment forever. It's pretty gracious right now, but that doesn't last very long.
Right.
But it's still one of those things where you don't want to be in that situation. But anyway, this is probably the reach out and touch, the how can I help, and then analyze who you need to meet. These are the most important things that you can do right now to create what you need and how you need to do it. And if you do that, you're building relationships. So it's all about relationships. And this is the whole key behind this whole presentation. No matter if we're in the best place ever and we're out there busy as heck, networking all over the place, you never can forget this slide, because it's your most important tool to getting the life you want, the job you want, the customers you want, the relationships of your referral partners that you want. It's all about that, but it's all about because you first reached out and tried to help somebody, and they in turn want to help you. So I don't know. I don't know if there's other questions you have, Sherry, but that's
No, I did. This was so good. And if anybody else, you can unmute yourself or you can type it in chat. I've been watching. It kept disappearing. I was clicking on it. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's the key right now. Is it is about letting people know what you're doing and how you can help them right now. And really, and even I would think that strategy goes both ways. Maybe making a list of the people you know.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. And offering to each other. Sometimes when you call each other, I just want to let you know, I tell the people this, I have connections. If you tell me what it is you're struggling with or need or thinking about, maybe I can help you. Right. Or I have other friends who I might be able to reach out to. We don't even have to be in business, although that's my world, that's your world. We're in business, we're promoting, but you don't have to be that. You can be a churchgoer that loves to help other people connect. You can be looking for a job, whatever it happens to be. This relationship building is absolutely the key to what it is you need to do going forward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, it's good stuff. I like I said, you've got my brain thinking, just because our business has totally changed. We had workshops booked that are no longer booked, and so how do you promote, sell without being salesy?
Exactly. And that's tough when you're needing business or you've lost business. Really tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it has to be. And I take Sandler, and there's a training, he calls it the pendulum theory. And so he draws a pendulum in the middle, and he draws lines around it. And he said, if you have happy years, if somebody goes, oh, I love this product, whatever, and you're like over here, like, yes, 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 and you're just like really saying, oh, I'll sign the contract, I'll get you, and you're like happy ears, the people automatically go this way. It's almost like, well, maybe I made the wrong choice. But if you stay here and you are asking them questions, oh, what made you make that decision? What do you like about, and you're drawing them to you, they're going to come to you. Same with relationships. It's all about drawing them to you because you care, because you're asking, because you're making sure, because you're helping, and pretty soon they're where you need them to be as far as whatever it is.
Patience. I think patience is a virtue, and authenticity, right? Being authentic. All those things are coming to mind for me. One last call for any questions or comments or chats. This has just been so helpful. Thank you for taking the time.
You're welcome.
The last couple of weeks, and volunteering your time and serving in this way. If you're in the Memphis area, especially in Arlington, Tennessee area, make sure you look up Jana Cardona, because she is, obviously you can see she's one of the best in her business, and she does have connections and she can help you. So, and if you're elsewhere, make sure you take these tips and use them. I know, again, you've made me really, the light bulb has went off this morning. Things that I did know and I've done in the past, but I needed to hear right now. So timing is everything.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Jana. Thank you to everybody who is watching this, turned into the recording. And please share this. This one we're making public, not just to our members, but to everybody, just because we feel it's such an important subject matter. And if you have any questions, Jana, what's your email address again for Jana?
Jana, Jana, at B like boy, N like Nancy, I like Indian, BNI, midsouth.com.
midsouth.com. And please email her, ask her questions. I know she'll be happy to help you. And for everybody else, we look forward to seeing you. Go to the calendar. We'll have some more sessions coming up in the coming months. And we hope that you all join us and enjoy these. So with that said, we'll have a great end of May.
Yeah, seriously. Take care. Bye, Sherry.
Bye, Jana.